Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw. Say what? Okay, dude, you set me up.
Exactly.
You set me up. You're fired. Okay, so in this photograph is it's the interior of a plane. Not quite. I wouldn't call it. Well, actually, it could be business class. Sure. Yeah, nice sort of nice open seating. Yeah, it's kind of business classy plane interior. There's something fishy. Okay, so is the person in the seat you?
That's me.
Or is that somebody else?
That is me.
That's you.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Look at that. So dressed very conservatively, all black. And so because you're in business class after all.
Business class
and
on standby, so you have to dress up kind of nicer.
Of course. Yes, so you're sitting there and you're looking at the photographer and it's all very nice. And in the seat next to you, also in business class, is Ashi?
That is Ashi, yes.
Ashi, yes. Ashi the cat. Looking at the photographer, just kind of like, say what? Just kind of like, yeah, I'm in business class. What are you doing? Okay, so take it away.
Well, that is actually a photo from the book. It's in the book.
Ah, nice.
So yes. And there's a little story about how he gets upgraded from down cargo. He's going to be in the cargo because he's a cat, and cats travel in the cargo. And he gets himself upgraded to business class.
Of course.
He charms the person to upgrading him. So
photoshopped.
Yes.
Must have been. Oh,
yeah, fantastic. I don't think they allow cats to sit freely in your seat.
Yeah. It's a good point. Okay, so where are we going to go from here? Like it's the impossibility or the, I mean, basically this is a kind of diorama that you've created.
Yeah, and basically it's just, I wanted to put it in here because it sets the tone of the book. I'm like, it's pretty silly. I mean, a cat in business class, like really? So you kind of, from that photo, you're going to get something that's more on the lighthearted side. It's not. Sure. You're not going to have the meaning of life in it. Although you might consider eating ramen for the first time your meaning of life.
Sure. Well, in the smallest things you can have. It's like that Marcel Proust idea, right? Of he bites into the Madeleine, and then all of a sudden that triggers all of these memories. And in the same way, I mean, maybe you can find that moment in silliness, right? Wait, where were we going? I'm going to edit all this out. Don't worry. Or maybe I won't. We'll see what happens. Me flailing. But wait a second.
We're talking about meaning of life and little things.
Yes, right. Haruki Murakami. Have you read Haruki Murakami?
Yes.
Now look, first of all, that's big praise, big shoes to fill. I'm putting you in the same passenger cabin with Haruki Murakami. Okay. So, do you like him at all?
Yes. I have to say I've only read one book, though. And I've started the second one. Oh, gosh. The Traveling Cat Chronicles.
Okay.
And I started the second one about the cat in the neighborhood. But I don't think the story's really about the cat. But I haven't gotten far enough into it.
In all of his books, he's got a cat. Or he's got cats in them. Is it the Wind-Up Bird Chronicles?
No, I cannot remember the name of it.
My wife bought that book, or she gave me that book to read, and it's called The Wind-Up Bird Chronicles. And I've bought that book for many, many people because it's that magical realism, right?
Right.
Like you're living your life, and then all of a sudden something really crazy happens. So yeah. So why don't you take that notion of magical realism and riff on that?
Oh, wow.
In terms of your work.
Yeah, I mean, because obviously there is an element of magical realism if you've got a cat that types, and travels and manipulates situations. Like he wants to go, there's a chapter in the book where he wants to go out exploring on his own. He doesn't want his owner with him. So he convinces her, walks and guides her to a Tex-Mex restaurant in Tokyo. So here he is in this Tex-Mex restaurant, and he's like pushing the menu and pointing at the margaritas, and she's like, "Ooh, margaritas!" So she drinks a bunch, and she gets back to the room and passes out. And so he uses that opportunity to escape from the room and go have his own adventure on his own.
Does a cat talk? No.
No, he doesn't talk. He does type.
He writes.
Right.
Yeah, he doesn't talk, of course. What are you some kind of lunatic? Okay. Okay. So are there spoilers? Like, if you tell me what happens, like, should I put a spoiler alert? Like, does he kill somebody?
No, there's nothing bad, nothing bad. And it's just like seeing Japan for the first time, from trying to do it from a cat's perspective. Like, he goes to the cat cafe. I guess that's not a spoiler, I don't know. But he goes to the cat cafe and he meets the cats there, and he's talking to them because he wants to talk to the other cats. And he's like, "You've never left the cat cafe?" And she's like, "No, this is where I live."
There's dialogue though.
Yes, they talk to each other. They speak. She speaks
So the
Japanese.
cats.
He speaks English, but they speak the universal cat language.
Okay. Okay. I kind of feel I should have smoked pot or something before this call or something. But I love. Okay, so as we're talking, there's a cat on a business class seat. You're seated because it's kind of like, are you meant? You're meant to be the sort of the stand-in for the Audrey.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So you said you're in all the photos.
Yes, and if you notice in the photos, or you're not supposed to notice, but of course you're going to notice, like, because they were taking over different trips. Like, my hair is all different styles and different lengths. In some pictures I'm really skinny, and other pictures not so much.
That sounds like a Godzilla movie.
And my sister commented on it. She's like, "Well, aren't you concerned?" I'm like, "Nah, it adds to the humor."
Well, there is that kind of Godzilla aesthetic,
Yes.
right? Like, it's kind of like you see the wires. Wait a second. So let's tie this back, man. Let's wrap this into a bundle, into a nice, beautiful package,
Okay.
into a nice, beautiful cake. This idea that somebody listening to this, hopefully, will go check out your book, have a good laugh, learn about Japan. But how do we inspire the person to write their own book, jump in, start a band?
You just do it, and you're going to be bad, and you're going to be awful to begin with. But you just do it, and you get better, and you get confident. And if it's something you really like doing, you pursue it. And if you start doing it and you're like, "God, this is a lot more work than I thought it would be, and it's not very fun, and it's stressing me out," then stop doing it. You don't have to keep doing it. That's my advice. Just go for it.
Did anybody give you that advice before?
No, not really. I kind of got the opposite advice.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Okay, you got the opposite advice. Who gave you that opposite advice?
Well, like my parents and my grandparents, and they're like, "Play it safe, go get a degree that will get you a nice paying job and a career that you know for sure it's not going to be a waste, like a film degree."
And yet you're doing one of the most corporate jobs.
I know. I just started doing it not too long ago, too.
Okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those funny little quirks, right? That, okay, we can't tell what's in the future.
But you know what? I did travel as a kid. We did go travel, and I would say I was encouraged to travel, to go see the world as much as I can. And like any opportunity that came up, I took it. I used to travel around or drive around with my passport on me at all times, just in case somebody was like, "Let's fly to such and such." I'm like, "I'm ready. Let's go."
Really? Really?
It's only happened once.
Wait. But it's happened once?
Yeah, but it wasn't international, but it was a random last minute trip. With my husband, at the time boyfriend, we had just started dating, and I was at work, and he called me. He goes, "You want to go to LA?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, sure." He's like, "All right, come over. We'll go to the airport." I'm like, "You mean tonight?" And he's like, "Yeah, tonight."
Nice. Nice. I love that. Yeah, we only live once, right?
Yes.
For sure.
We also picked the worst time to go to LA because it was all on fire, or in the surrounding area was
really?
on fire.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny you should say that. I'm actually, now my job is helping a company that does air sensors because of, fires, wildfires, and sort of how it impacts on air quality. So maybe I'll get them on the podcast as well.
That'd be interesting.
So here's what's also really interesting. Okay, I've had a few people from Houston. One person who was there during Hurricane Harvey.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, were you in Houston back then, or
Yes, yes.
were you impacted by the hurricane, or?
No, because at the time I lived in a neighborhood, an area called the Heights, and hence
Okay.
the
Oh, clear.
name.
Yeah.
It's the highest point in Houston, so we didn't flood. But you couldn't get in and out the neighborhood. That was all flooded, you know. But we did okay.
Yeah, but I'm sure you've had people you
Oh,
knew.
totally, yeah. Lots of people I know have like lost everything.
Really? Wow. Okay, so this many years on, is it just like this weird dream, this weird memory, this weird time? How do you think about that stuff?
For me personally, I'm always a little nervous when another storm comes through because the way Houston keeps building up and adding more concrete, it floods easier and easier with each,
Oh,
over
really?
time. Yeah, so it's always a concern. We moved out of the Heights, and I was like, "Did this neighborhood flood?" And they're like, "It didn't flood during Harvey." So I'm like, "Well, it's probably okay then." I mean, that was like 55 inches in 24 hours.
Right.
Actually, I think it was 30 inches the first 24 hours and 55 over like 2 or 3 days.
I also love the fact that so your husband, is he from Texas?
Yes, he also grew up in Texas.
Who's got the thicker Texas accent between you and him?
Probably me.
Really? Because I can hear it. Because usually in Houston, I couldn't hear anybody with the accent, but in you, I kind of hear something in there. I
Yeah,
love
but
it.
you gotta remember I grew up in LaPorte. So it's a
I don't know
little
what that means.
it's a little
That's like
rednecky.
Tokyo. Really?
Yeah.
I thought they said Laporte was the Okinawa of Texas.
Oh God, no.
I'm just joking. I have no idea.
I was like, is Okinawa that horrible?
I have no idea. They call Tokyo the Houston of Japan, which again also doesn't make
I
sense.
can see that for the summertime because the weather's similar. It's hot and humid there. It doesn't get as hot, but it is humid, so I can get that part.
So Carrie Carter, you've given us some advice to just do it. You've talked about cats and planes. You finished your book that's going to come out in October, which is super exciting. Anything else, last but not least?
Go out and try new things. Don't be afraid of it.
Carrie, listen, I love the fact that you're a person who, in your own path, adventure, journey, whatever, you went traveling with a cat. Like, this is how you landed.
Well, I'm hoping it really takes off.
Well, one of the things that is, I've had a lot of authors on the podcast, and I think I'll leave this actually in the podcast because this is kind of interesting. Is that for a lot of first time authors, they write the book. Like for you, it's 5 years of work. You finally edit it. You finally get it together. You finally get it printed. It finally gets released, and then the hustle doesn't stop. Like you still have to hustle.
Yeah, you still have to promote it and push it if you want anyone to ever hear about it. Because,
Yep, because you're competing.
yeah, I'm not with the big five where they're going to run an ad anywhere. I've got a small micro press, which, Julie is great.
Yeah, but even if you were with the big
You still have to promote, yeah.
the window of time it's actually in people's consciousness is very short because there's so much stuff.
I know. I know. And I know, like, I feel like the more people watch TikTok and short videos, like, their attention span's getting shorter and shorter and shorter.
But people are reading a lot. Like people are reading a lot.
People will always read. Someone's like, oh, it's a dying industry. I'm like, it will never die. People like stories, and they will always want to read.
Carrie, look, I will look out for the book. Thank you. I really appreciate your time, and write the next book. You have to write another book.
Well, I've got some other stuff working in the works too. That's not Whiskers Abroad. Different books.
Like fund management things, yeah.
One of them's a little bit more serious, and one of
I
them's
was
a little
just
bit more
kidding.
fun. That still has a cat in it though.
You have a website?
It's carriecarterwrites.com.
Thank you, Carrie Carter writes.
Thank you for having me on.
For sure, you're awesome.
All right,
Okay,
thanks.
bye.
Bye.
So, is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So, if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw.